I think of one of the stories of Pete and his friend Jots. They used to go up to 125th Street. They had a prison up there. Whether it's open or not, I really don't know, which would be Harlem. Um, and they would sit on a railroad trestle that goes over the road, and the train would pass over it. And they would sit with their feet dangled over the side, and they would watch the prisoners as they came out for their break or whatever they were given an hour or so outside. And they would spend an hour or two just watching them, having lunch or maybe candy or whatever they brought. And they just enjoyed. And after a while, it got close to dinner time. Pete or Jots, I don't know which one, said, I gotta go home. It's time to eat. So in those days, they always tried to, they didn't have the money to try to jump the trolley, train, above ground. And they did. And they were riding along, and I guess a conductor going through, collecting tickets, saw them, asked them for it, and they started running, and the conductor got a hold of my father and grabbed him by the jacket and threw him off the train, off the back of the train, which would be the end, the caboose, whatever you want to call it. And in so doing, in those days, like it is today, between the tracks you have rock on either side of the track, and in between, the rock today is a little bit more refined, a little smaller, not quite as big as it was back then, maybe because of the process of cutting and all, the machinery back then. But they were maybe 2-3 inch pieces that were jagged. When he kicked them off, Pete landed head first onto the rock. I'll never forget when I was a kid, I always asked my mother, what happened to the left side of Pete's forehead near the hairline? She told me the story about a conductor kicking him off the train, and he hit his head. That wound required 18 stitches. Pete had on a little schlop hat, those hats that you snap in the front. Various people played golf with those hats. Kevin Costner wears them. Anyway, Pete brought the brim of the cap over that wound. Made it back home. When he got in the door, his mother took a look and said, "What happened, Peter?" Of course, it was all in Italian. Pietro. What happened? And he said, "Nothing, Mom." When she picked up the cap, the brim, the blood came out. She says, "My God, what did you do to yourself?" He said, "The conductor kicked me off the train." She grabbed him, and they went up to, I don't know, Mount Sinai Hospital, whatever was open up in that area then. They fixed the wound 18 stitches later. Pete never said a word. You'll come to realize, as I tell these stories, the strength and character of Pete. Not just his working character, but his character as a being, as a human being placed on this earth. Never complained. Never in those days he used the word belly ached. He never did. Pete had a headache for about a week. Never complained. Went back and did his jobs. Remember, he had to support. They bandaged him up, put the hat back on, and Pete went out. I remember when I got older and he kind of retired, semi-retired. He was in his 70s and worked with his younger brother, and he was about 8 years younger or so, maybe 10. A ladder fell, and it fell about 30 feet sliding down a wall and hit my father in the back of the head. And Pete was bent over, didn't see it coming. He was nailing, I don't know, 2x4 or whatever. Frank saw it. Pete took a handkerchief out of his pocket, put it over his head, covered it. Frank said, "What the hell are you doing, Pete? It's a bad cut." Pete said, "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it." Frank took him to the hospital. He had 12 stitches. You could say Pete wasn't human. Yeah, he was. He bled if you cut him. But if he complained, who was really going to listen to him? Do you ever do it? Complain? People watch you. They listen. Then they say, "What? For God's sakes, you're always complaining." Pete wasn't like that. Pete just did whatever it was, whatever he had to do, and kept right on. He was a plotter. And that's the way he went through life, plodding along, gaining respect, not looking for it, just gaining it by the way he was, who he was, his actions. Always spoke louder than words. Father, you say people can talk all they want. What do they do after they talk? Do they fulfill that talk with action? Or they just talk? I don't know. I make you think. If you've got thought about these films, these videos, let me know. See what you think. See if you've got any that you want to share with me. I'd be more than happy to take them and share them back out with the people. That's interpersonal. That's talking back and forth as opposed to us texting one another. If you like them, let me know. Subscribe, whatever you feel. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your time.